Hello everyone, welcome to our live session. This is Mehmet from Escoraiz, and as we promised, we're having wonderful guests tonight from the admission committee of York University. And till the guests show up, you can put your comments below and your questions, any questions you have in your mind. All right. So Carl, thanks for accepting our invitation.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Would you please kick things off by introducing yourself to the audience?
No problem. So, hi everyone. I hope you and your family are happy and healthy over in Iran. I'm super excited to be here today. Thank you again, Mohammed Reza, for inviting me to speak about York University. So my name is Carl. Yeah. So my name is Carl Sachs, and I am York's recruitment manager for students that are coming from the Middle East. So I am the main kind of admissions contact for students that are coming from Iran. So I think maybe over the next 10 or 15 minutes, I'll be speaking about some things like Canada and Toronto, our campuses and programs, admission requirements, tuition and scholarships. And then I'm happy to answer any questions you might have before we pass it off to my other colleague, Bashar, who will talk about some postgraduate programs.
Well, sounds great. So Carl, could you please give us, what are you doing? So Carl, would you please give us information about the admission process for the bachelor and undergraduate students?
Absolutely, I'm super happy to help. So specifically for admission requirements, the main thing for York University, and this is for most Canadian universities as well, the main thing we're looking for is your grades, period. That's the most important thing for admission. For most programs, there's a few exceptions. So at York, we have about 200 different programs. Only about 2 or 3, we're going to ask for some additional information. The rest, for admissions, we're looking for your high school grades from your final year. And for most programs, we'll need a 15 or higher for you to be considered for admission. But for some programs like computer science and engineering, we're looking for an 18 out of 20 or higher. And those are our more competitive programs. And then for university transfer students, it can change depending on the grading at your university. So for that, it's maybe a more specific discussion. But I'm always happy to kind of field emails and answer those specifics too. Very important, very simple for Canadian university admissions and for York, we don't require SAT scores or ACT scores. We really just want to see your high school or your university grades. There is the need for an English proficiency test, like an IELTS score or TOEFL or Duolingo. So for us, we would need an IELTS 6.5, TOEFL 83, or Duolingo 115. And if you have that, fantastic. If you do not yet have that, it is possible to get a conditional offer of admission that, say your high school grades are excellent, but maybe you have an IELTS 6.0, we can make an offer, but one of the conditions will be you must meet that IELTS 6.5, or you would enroll in a program with our English Language Institute that, again, Bashar, my colleague, can give some more information about later. So that's kind of the overview of the admissions process, what we're looking for from excellent students in Iran. And then the application process, there's really 2 ways to apply. One is the York University application that's on our website. So it's very straightforward. It's if you know you want to study at York University, but really only York University, maybe in Ontario or Canada, then that's the best option because it will save you some money. But the most common way to apply is a website called OUAC that gives you a few different choices at Ontario universities. So if you're interested in us, York, which is in Toronto, and then the other 2 Toronto universities like Ryerson and University of Toronto, you can apply to all three of us with that same application. But of course, it's up to you. If you're sure you only want to apply to York, that makes me very happy as well. But so that's kind of an overview of the application process and the admission requirements of what we're looking for.
Sounds great, Carl. Here's the question. What would if a student, without preparing an IELTS or the TOEFL, and this student can be perfectly good student with high grade and mark. So do you accept this student without any English proficiency language test?
Yes, in general, yes, for most programs. There are a few exceptions. So if a student, maybe here's a simpler example. For a student like in the sciences, like biomedical science, biotechnology, biochemistry, or health science, yes, we would accept based just on the high school grades. And then we do need to see the English proficiency results at some point before the beginning of studies. But then there are some other programs like engineering and computer science. They must see a test, an English proficiency test, before they'll make a decision. So since we're a large university and there's some different areas, the rules for admission can vary slightly. But for the most part, yes, we will make offers of admission, even if you haven't written IELTS, TOEFL, or Duolingo yet.
All right. So what about the statement of purpose? Is it mandatory for bachelor students?
Excellent question. So we get this question a lot, especially we know that maybe you're considering applying to different universities in Europe and the UK and Australia, and of course us here in Canada. And some of those other countries might be asking for a statement of purpose. For York University, for most programs, a statement of purpose is not required. Admission, again, is based only on your grades, and that's the Canadian university system for the most part. So there are, I think it's 3 or 4 different programs at York University where we do want some additional information. And they are the Bachelor of Fine Arts programs. Like we're very well known for our film production program and our theater program and our music program. So for those, you will need an additional statement of purpose, also a portfolio, and there's probably going to be an interview portion for that as well. So for those, yes, and also for business administration, we do need a statement of purpose. But that's only 4 programs of about 200. The rest of them, we are looking just at your grades for admission.
All right, thanks for your explanation. I just want to make sure I fully understand what you're saying. In a nutshell, you said that the only important thing is the grade, yeah?
Correct. That is, if there's one important takeaway, the most important thing for admission is your grades. And I think maybe we had discussed this before. I think some of the questions that come up is like, well, how can I be refused? Maybe what's a common situation for a student to be refused admission? And the simple answer is if their academics, if their high school grades are not sufficient for admission, then that's when a student would be refused. So again, for us, for most programs, we want a 15 out of 20 in your final year, but some programs do require higher. We'll need an 18 out of 20.
All right, fantastic. And one more question, Carl. Majority of students are asking us about the funding process and scholarships for undergraduate students. Could you please walk us through this process for getting funded?
No problem. So I'll try and give some highlights of York's scholarship system. So we do have scholarships available to international students, and they range from 1,000 Canadian dollars per year all the way up to 35,000 Canadian dollars per year. Some of them will be automatic, and they're based just on your high school grades. So if you have a very high average, we might say, welcome to the university, here's say like 3,000 Canadian dollars for your first year. But the bigger ones, the biggest ones that will maybe be like $35,000 per year, each year for 4 years, those ones require a separate application. So usually the process is, number one, apply to York University. Number two, after you get your York number, it's your login information after you apply to York, you can use that number to apply for the big scholarships. So what we need for the students to be competitive, because it is a competition to get those big scholarships, to be competitive, we need you to have, again, at least an 18 out of 20 in your final year of high school. So it is for students that have those high academics, but then we also need you to show us what makes you amazing outside the classroom. So that's your, we call it a leadership profile. So anything, it could be clubs and teams you're a part of. It could be volunteer work. Maybe you started your own business. Maybe you help a family business. Maybe you've done anything in the community that is unique and valuable, and why you would be a great asset at our university. Those are the things. So it's strong grades and that leadership profile are the keys. And then again, after that, it is a big competition to get them. So one important thing is about timeline for that though. So the deadline to apply for those big scholarships, unfortunately for the upcoming fall semester, so September 2021, the deadline to apply for those big scholarships has already passed. So if you haven't yet applied to York, yeah, unfortunately. So it's really for students who are looking at maybe fall 2022, who maybe are in grade 11 right now, that you'd be eligible for those big scholarships. And I do want to say this, I think for next year, there may be more scholarships available, even more scholarships, because we're expanding our scholarship program. So what I'm saying right now is for right now, there will be more information and more scholarships that you'll have an opportunity to apply for in coming semesters.
So to conclude, Iranian students can be eligible for getting scholarships from York University, yeah?
Correct, yes.
All right, so I'm seeing comments, one common question, that's about an application fee. Do you get it from the Iranian students under sanction and all that stuff that you know in Iran?
Yes, so that's so we have many students applying to York from Iran, and we know that there are some sanctions in place, but there doesn't seem to be significant barriers the payment processing is going through for those applications. And that's both through the York application, which is the direct application to us, and also through OUAC, which is that common application that I mentioned before. So we know that there are maybe barriers in some other situations, but for us right now, we're not, from my understanding, we're not facing any issues.
All right, that's great. Is there any other helpful tips you want to share us?
Maybe some just some key information about our university. We are in Toronto, which is Canada's largest city, a super multicultural city with a large Persian community. So it wouldn't be like you're on your own coming from Iran to Toronto. Maybe you have friends in Toronto already or family members, or you've at least heard of Toronto, I hope. Toronto Raptors, Drake, great nightlife, great city to study in due to, again, the strong university education system we have here. So it is maybe what's unique about our campus is that we're in Toronto, but our campus is like its own city within the city of Toronto that has about 55,000 students at it. So you're really in this city with other students that has everything you would need, like, you know, a grocery store. There's a small shopping mall on campus. There's 2 sports stadiums, a big athletics facility. There's we have an ice hockey complex. I don't know if any of you play ice hockey, but if there was ever a time to learn, university is a great time. And we have 8 residence buildings, so apartment buildings for students to live in right on campus as well. And again, priority goes to our international students. And one of my favorite things, and maybe I'll just leave it at this, one of my favorite things is that we have a wonderful subway station on campus. So that subway station, it's our public transit system. So it's York University Station, and it opened in 2017, so about 4 years ago. And we had the Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Justin Trudeau, come to our campus to cut the ribbon to open that subway station. And from there, you can get to the center of the city in about 30 minutes. So it's very convenient to get into the city, enjoy the many things an amazing city like Toronto has to offer. But when you come home at night to the York University campus, you're, again, in a place that's just with other York University students.
That's right. The head of the bachelor committee is with us, the 3rd largest university in Canada, yeah, York University. Am I right?
Correct, 3rd largest university.
Yeah, helpful tips and wonderful notes. Thank you for coming here. And I think the most important key and point here is that bachelor students can only apply with higher grade, yeah?
Yeah, so bachelor students can apply with the high school grades, and they should be, for most programs, 15 out of 20 or higher. And then for some programs, we'll need 18 or higher. But it depends on the program. So the higher, the better. But again, what gets you admitted to York for our bachelor's programs is your grades.
Thank you for coming here. That was very rude and great. So I'd like to hand it over to Bashar, the head of the Master Admission Committee. Is there anything else to mention, Carl?
I thank you so much for having me here today. I hope that information was helpful, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. Okay, I'm always around, and I'm always happy to answer questions in the future. So thanks again, Mohammed Reza.
For sure. Thanks you, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.
So guys, that was Carl from Bachelor Admission Committee, and now Bashar Ansari, the head of the Master Admission Committee of York University, is coming here. So I think the admission process for bachelor degree is super easy for most of the students, and only your grade is enough.
Following the lovely conversation you and Carl were having about the undergraduate programs, and I can see that there's a lot of Iranian students in this session today, so I'm very excited about this. Thank you.
That was very helpful. Yeah, that was very helpful. And if you agree, let's introduce ourselves quickly to the students.
Absolutely. So my name is Bashar Ansari, and I'm the recruitment manager for Middle East and North Africa, including Iran. And I look after the programs that we offer under the School of Continuing Studies at York University. In this chat today, I will explain to you a little bit more and give you more details about the School of Continuing Studies and what programs we have under the School of Continuing Studies that might be of interest to Iranian students. So let me start off with giving you a brief introduction of the School of Continuing Studies. So the School of Continuing Studies is a part of York University. It was established in the year 2015, and it is home to our York University English Language Institute and also to the continuing professional education programs, which are basically the postgraduate certificate programs that we offer for international students. Now, both of these are of interest to Iranian students historically because I've seen a lot of students that might need the extra English language preparation to maybe go into their bachelor degrees or even into graduate degrees in Canada, and they like to get themselves prepared. So we do have certain programs for those students, which I'll tell you more about later on. And on the other side, for the postgraduate programs, we have the postgraduate certificate programs, which are offered by the School of Continuing Studies in business administration. We have human resource management, accounting, public relations, and so on. So there's quite a few for the students to choose from. So those are the programs that I'm here to talk to you about today. I think you mentioned earlier about masters. I just wanted to correct that, Muhammad Raza. So we have a faculty of graduate studies, and we have a separate recruiter that looks after the master's program. So we will not be talking much about the master's options today. We will be focusing on the postgraduate certificate programs and the York University English language pathways.
So, Bashar, who are eligible for these postgraduate studies? What are the main requirements?
Absolutely. So the program requirements could be slightly different depending on the number of programs. However, let's talk about the general academic requirements, for example. So number one, if you are an Iranian student who's already completed a bachelor's degree from Iran or even a master's degree from Iran, and you're looking to come to Canada to do another program at postgraduate level, then those students, we will require them to have a bachelor with at least 60% marks or equivalent in Iranian standard. So I know, for example, that in Iran, you have a grading system where it's from 20, I think it's graded from 20, right? So you will have to see what is equivalent of 60%, and that is what we would require for Iranian students usually. In terms of the English language requirements, for most programs, again, we ask for an IELTS of 6.0 overall. And the good thing is we also accept TOEFL, we accept Duolingo. So I know a lot of international students are currently doing Duolingo because it's easier to do so. So for Duolingo, we'll be requiring an overall score of 104, which is equivalent to a 6.0 score in IELTS. So those are the two main requirements. Now, for some programs, such as the certificate in content, digital and content marketing, we also require the student to do a video statement of interest, meaning the student will sit down in front of a camera and then record a video speaking about why they're a perfect candidate for this program and what is it that they will learn from this program, why should we consider them for this program. Similarly, there are a couple of other programs where we might also need a CV from the student. So depending on the program, the entry requirements could be slightly different. If you talk about business administration, which is probably the most sought after program from Iran, like it's the most popular program from Iran, our certificate in business administration, it's very simple. You only need to prove that you have 60% or equivalent marks in your bachelor's, and you need an IELTS score overall 6.0 to be eligible. You don't need anything else. You don't need a video statement. You don't need a CV. You don't need anything else. So again, depending on the program, the requirements could be slightly different.
For business, you said, that's it?
For business, the program requirement does not include the video statement or the CV or anything else. But for other programs, the requirements could be slightly different, meaning in addition to meeting the academic requirements of 60% and the IELTS of 6.0, we might also ask the student to provide us a CV or provide us a video statement of interest. So it all depends on which program you apply for. Some programs, there are no extra requirements. Some programs, there are some small extra requirements.
Well, sounds great. So if you agree, let's go over the financial aid. As you know, most of the students are facing with these financial problems in Iran, and they want to know about the financial and getting funding and scholarships for these programs you said.
Absolutely. So first of all, I'd like to tell you that our program tuition fees is actually very competitive. It's actually even lower than some of the colleges in the Greater Toronto area. So the tuition fees for 4 out of the 7 full-time certificates is only $15,200 for the full program. So for example, if you talk about business administration, or you talk about public relations, or you talk about digital marketing or accounting, these programs are all only $15,200. Now, we do not have any international scholarships available for students applying for certificate programs, and that is because the tuition fees is already quite low. And as a unit, we are not funded by the government, like we are a profit-making unit, in other words. So basically, it's not possible for us financially to be able to provide extra scholarships to students. However, I still think that if the students are doing any research and they've looked at other relevant programs, certificate programs being offered at other institutions, they will notice that our tuition fees is actually very, very competitive.
So I think that's not too much, $15,000, and it's reasonable, I think. So would you mind please giving us information about the application process?
Absolutely. So the application process is pretty simple for our certificate programs. For example, you go to our website and let's say you've identified the postgraduate certificate in business administration as the one you want to apply for. You literally go on the website. There is an enroll section that you will see on the top. A heading says enroll. You click on enroll. It will take you to a page where it shows you the program is offered in which intake, and the intake, it will say the deadline for that intake. All you need to do is click on the apply now button, and then it will ask you to create an account and then type in all the relevant information. So we'll ask you about your address, your contact details, your email ID and everything like that. And then further on, there will be another section where we'll ask you about your academic qualification, your English language score. Then there will be an option for you to upload your documents. Now, we do not ask you to send all the documents, including high school, especially if you're applying for these postgraduate certificates. It's pretty simple. So you're only required to upload the bachelor, and if you have a master's, that also. You have to upload the transcript and the certificate, and you have to upload the English language score. And again, if you're applying for a program where we require you to provide a CV, then you will obviously also be required to upload a CV and the video statement if that is required. So it's pretty straightforward. There is an application fees, which is $79, which the students have to pay. And again, it is pretty common in Canada to pay application fees for most programs, as you'd be aware. So $79 is the application fees you need to pay. A couple of other things that I would like to mention, Mohammed Raza, we have multiple intakes in the year. So for these postgraduate certificates, we have 3 intakes every year. We have January, we have May, and we also have September. So there is a lot of flexibility, because if you're a student right now in this situation, I know visas are getting delayed. Sometimes students have other concerns. So basically for these students, if you miss out on January, you know the next session is only 4 months away. And we do provide the option for students, if for any good reason you're unable to start in January, for example, you can defer it to May, or from May to September. But again, deferment is only for students that have accepted the offer.
That's right. Once here mentioned something about video statement, would it be possible if you talk a little about a video statement?
Absolutely. I'll be happy to. So, the video statement is essentially, it's like we don't want to see a written statement because it's much easy for anyone to write a written statement. To be honest, if I'm a student, I know you can just get information from here and there, add it to your statement and get it sent, right? That's not what we're looking for. We need a personal statement because we want you to be able to present. It's important to be able to present yourself as well. It's a part of the program. You're in digital and content marketing. It's all about presentation and the skills that you have that will help you further in that program. So if I was the student interested in digital marketing, I would record a statement saying, this is my name, this is what I've done, this is my experience, this is how I believe this program is going to help me. For example, I might have a bachelor's degree in business, but now I'm working in something related to marketing. And I just don't have that required understanding of digital marketing to be successful in that role. So you will talk more about what skills you're looking to acquire from within this program and how this will all help you with getting accepted into the program. So essentially, we want you to tell us, why do you think you are a good candidate for this digital marketing program? Secondly, we also want to see what you have to say about why we should consider you and how this program is suitable for you and your needs. So that's essentially what a video statement is. It's nothing extraordinary, nothing to be stressed about. It's literally you talking and telling us, why is it that you want to take this program and how it's going to help you.
Well, good one. Now let's get into one tricky question. I'd like to ask, what are the main reasons for getting rejected?
Okay, so that's a good question. Ideally, we would want people that are qualified to provide immigration advice to be able to answer such a question. In my experience, the visa officers are not. I know that most people will look at them in a negative aspect and say they're only sitting there. They're not there to reject your visas. That's not why they're there. They're just doing their job, which is to make sure that they let genuine students come in and do their studies. And Canada, as you've seen, they like the students. They want the students to come in. So it's not like they just refuse students for no reason. Major reasons for rejections could be something to do with your documentation, for example. A lot of students, if you're applying yourself, for example, or through a partner, if you're not providing the correct documentation and information, that is one of the main reasons, of course, for you not to get accepted. Secondly, it could be financials. So maybe your financials are not in order. Maybe you haven't done enough to prove your ties back home, which are also very important. In most cases, the visa officers know that the students in future aspirations, they are aspiring to come and maybe settle down in Canada. They already know that. But what they also want to see at the same time is your financials back home. They're strong. You have the money to be able to come here. One of the things I would also like to point out here is for York University, for example, we ask our students to pay the full tuition fees before they start the program. You are going to be able to pay just 30% to accept your offer, and you can still get the visa letter, the LOA. However, before the start of the program, there's a deadline by which you must pay the full fees. Now, one of the other reasons why we ask students to pay the full fees is, of course, it reflects better on your financial abilities, right? And I would recommend all students to consider paying the tuition fees in full rather than paying it in parts, because if I was a visa officer, the first thing that will come in my mind is that, why is that you're going to go there and pay there anyway? So why is it that you're not paying right now, right? So I'm telling you from my own thinking, what I think are things that are important. So these are things that I would say that students should look at. Also, don't just take a program for the sake of it. Make sure the program that you're doing, you're genuinely interested and it makes sense career-wise and education-wise for you to take up such programs. That is pretty much what I'd like to add on the visa part. Again, I'm not a qualified immigration consultant, so this is just my opinion about why people get refused. But I think it would be better if you consult with an immigration consultant for this particular reason as well.
Right, great information. Those are the main reasons that Bashar said by which you can easily get rejected. Thanks for saying this information. So, Bashar, I think the time is over. As I promised, is there anything else to mention to the Iranian students?
Absolutely. So I would like to, number one, say that we do have quite a decent number of students from Iran studying in our postgraduate certificate programs. We also have a few Iranian students coming to study our English pathway programs, which is something I just did not talk about. So I'm going to briefly tell you a little bit about the English programs also. For those of you that were listening to my colleague Carl's presentation, students that, for example, if you need a 6.5 IELTS in to be able to get admission into bachelor's, let's suppose you have a 5.5, or let's suppose you have a 5.0, or you have a 6.0 score. Now, what happens to those students? So those students can get conditional acceptance into York, and then what they can do is do one of our English language pathway programs to be successfully eligible to meet the English requirements for your degree. To give you the smallest and shortest and easiest example, let's say you have a 6.0 IELTS. We have a program which is called Destination York. Basically 8 weeks of English. You come and do the English for 8 weeks. You successfully pass that program, and then you go into your bachelor's. Similarly, if you have a 5.5 score, we have this program which is 8 weeks pre-destination, then 8 weeks destination, so 16 weeks of English altogether, and then you join the bachelor's. Thirdly, one of the other more attractive programs is similar to the other foundation programs that you might have heard about, like Navitas for Simon Fraser and ICM. We also have a program which is called YU Bridge. In this program, it's little different to the other English pathways because we can let students take some undergraduate courses also while studying their English. This program is usually 2 terms, so it's 2 semesters, 8 months at least. And while the student is in this program, so by the way, students can come into this program with an IELTS score of as low as 5.0. So even if you have a 5.0, you might still be able to get conditional admission into bachelor's with this program. So the main aim, you prepare for English and then you take up to 3 undergraduate courses. Each course in Canada, by the way, is 3 credits. So you're able to take up to 9 credits within this program before you join in your bachelor's degree. If you take all 3, for example, if you have the option to take all 3, it means by the time you finish this foundation program, you will have your English at the required level of 6.5, for example. And then you also have some credits to take with you into your bachelor's, meaning you don't have to do those subjects in your bachelor's. You've already done them before you've even entered. So it's a great program for students to look at. One other program that is popular amongst Iranian students is the Graduate Study Preparation Program. And I can see in the chat box, there's lots of people asking about master's and PhD studies.
Yeah.
So this is a program which is relevant to all of these students because it's designed for all of those international graduates that want to come to Canada or North America, like even US, to come and do a master's or PhD, for example. So first of all, they want to improve their English. Secondly, they want to prepare more for GRE, GMAT. So just for the audience here, you must also know most programs in Canada, you're asked for GRE and GMAT. So you will get some extra preparation for that also in this program. And thirdly, we have a really good network of institutions where we can streamline the application processes for you. So basically, it's a program that prepares you for English, for your academic writing skills, also to the extent of sort of making you more familiar with the communication methods, because as a postgraduate student, especially in research, you'll have a lot of interaction with the faculties, with different people. So we prepare you for all of these things within this program. It's an excellent program for students to look at. And again, we can take students with a lower IELTS score in this program, prepare them to be at that level, and then they can apply to graduate schools in Canada. And in North America, in fact, or work.
Well, excellent points. I think thousands of millions of questions are remain here. Is there any easier way for students by which they can ask questions from you and Carl?
Absolutely. So maybe I should write my email in the comments section if that helps, because people can then, connect with us if they need to find any further information about all of these programs. So let me write that.
That would be great. That would be great. And also Carl.
Sure. I think I can write on Carl's behalf. So just give me a second. I'm going to get his email.
I should have asked him.
No problem. I actually thought about this earlier, but no problem. I can add it now. So CSACHS.
I can pin the comment here.
At yorku.ca. So I put down the email addresses for both me and Carl. By the way, we are still accepting applications for the May intake for our postgraduate certificate programs. So if you're still looking to apply, the applications are open until March 28th. That's the deadline to apply for this May intake. One last thing, which is also very important, I missed out on this. If you are looking to get admission into a postgraduate certificate, but your English is below 6.0, we still have the option to give you conditional offer, just like we do for more undergraduate. So depending on your based on a lower IELTS score as well.
That would be fantastic. Well, thanks for your explanation. It's a great honor to be alongside you two guys in this platform, you, Bashar, and Carl. And thanks for paving this way for Iranian students, actually. So is there anything to mention?
Yeah, well, I would like to thank everyone in this session today. I'm very glad that we were able to address some of the questions from students here. I did see a note about TOEFL in the chat box here and about Duolingo. So just repeating myself that we do accept TOEFL, we accept IELTS, we accept Duolingo. So there is an equivalency that is available on our website. If you want to see what is the score we require for TOEFL instead of IELTS, just go to our website, go to the entry requirements section, and you'll be able to see it there. And again, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to get in touch with me. You have my email ID here, or get in touch with Mohammed Raza, and I'm sure he can put you in touch if you somehow lost our contact details. We'll be more than happy to assist you guys. It was a great pleasure to be here for this event. I think we should continue doing those to be able to answer more questions from the Iranian audience. And thank you for inviting me today, Mohammed Raza.
My pleasure. I'd like to thank everyone for coming here. And for further information, this is the email address for Carl and Bashar. Thank you again and have a good day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bye for now.
Bye.